Okay, in this next module, I want to talk about how do law firms charge and through everything that's entailed. So I know I already talked about this a little bit, but there's a few different forms of payment structures in law firm, like pricing models in law firms. There's hourly, there's flat fee, there's contingency, and then there's a hybrid. Some firms have multiple practice areas. Usually, if it's anything hourly, which this is popular for family law firms especially, you're selling an initial retainer, and then the firm charges hourly for the work that they do against that retainer. Most of the firms we work with, a lot of them family law fall into that. And then the other practice areas are traditionally flat fee firms. They're selling a service for a clear defined flat fee price. And that's how the pricing models traditionally work for law firms. Now, a lot of closers want to know, are payment plans allowed in law firms? Traditionally, the answer is yes, with the exception of most family law firms don't do payment plans because they charge an initial retainer. And then once the hourly work drops the retainer down to a certain balance, it gets replenished. The initial retainer is just the starting investment. The case value goes up after the initial retainer. So if a prospect can't afford the initial retainer, they likely aren't going to be able to afford the case. And then that puts the law firm in a very difficult position where they have to withdraw from the case. The rest of the practice areas we work with, almost 90% of the time, law firms are offering payment plans of some kind. In some practice areas, they're a lot more generous, like bankruptcy. In others, they're a little bit more condensed, but they still offer payment plans, which gives you a lot more flexibility as a salesperson to work within the confines of payment plan as part of a way to overcome price objection when and if it comes down to it. And price objection will be one of the most common objections you get in this space, along with the decision maker objection, the I need to think about it. Those are really the three top ones. There's some shadow objections that happen as well, but those are the three top objections. So how do refunds or chargebacks work in legal? So here's how we help law firms architect the process. As I mentioned, at the end of you closing a deal, you're scheduling an onboarding call. And traditionally, how this works in law firms is the legal team is handling the onboarding call. If the legal team in that onboarding call determines this, for some reason, is a case they can't take on as a firm, they'll refund them. And then obviously that gets dinged against you as a salesperson. That happens pretty few times, but it does happen. Or usually after the first payment is successful, if a client charges back at some point into the process after they've started the legal process, in most cases that doesn't get dinged against you as a salesperson. That was now fulfillment's responsibility and operations to handle.